So we're going to read one of my personally favorite verses from this chapter, Prayers Between Kunti, and for me it kind of conveys the aspect of why we share what we love. Like there's a saying, share it if you love it. So Queen Kunti, she says that in a different way, but the essence is one. Shivanti Gayanti Gridanti Abhikshaha Samarti Nandanti Tavanti Janaha Taeva Pashyanti Acharanatvakam Bhava Prava
36.
Bhava Prava Ho Param Padam Bhujam. Yeah, text number 36.
Somebody new came in. So Canto 1,
Somebody
Chapter
new.
8,
Hare Krishna, Rebeka.
Text 36.
And we're just going to read along. If someone has a copy of the Bhagavatam with them, he's welcome to join. Maybe in between, interchange and read all together. So if you have a copy of the first canto, 8th chapter, or you can find it online too. Vanipedia, it's a good source for that. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Purport by His Divine Grace, A. C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Supreme Lord Shri Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. In order to see him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life, full of spontaneous love of Godhead. When Shri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is interesting. I'll get back into that. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kams, Jarasandha, and Shishupal were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets. But they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. This necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service. Only begin with hearing about the Lord from the right sources. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literatures which are generally heard, chanted, repeated, etc., by the people in general. But in spite of such hearing, etc., sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotional service does not see the Lord eye to eye. The reason is that the first item, Shravana, is very important. If hearing is from the right source, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. So I thought to stop here. I had something to share. If one of you has anything to share about what we read, it's not necessarily that you have to read to share, or you have to share to read. Just you can anytime raise your hand, or just go for it and unmute yourself and speak. What kind of comes to me is like this notion how everyone is so eager to see God, right? We all, I mean, I in my phase of my spirituality, I always want to verify and analyze and dwell on like proofs and so many things. But it's like Prabhupada, he points it out that even if God comes before us, it's not necessary that we're going to recognize him. And he gives so many examples in Krishna's pastimes when he was present on earth manifesting his Bhoma Lila. There are different types of Lilas. The Bhoma Lila is the earthly pastimes as Krishna brings with him the spiritual kingdom and he manifests all the opulences, all the interactions between the bodies. But even then, like Prabhupada specifies, that not everyone were able to appreciate the presence of the Lord. We're able to appreciate the presence of the Lord. It's kind of stuck to me from this portion that I read to you. Yeah, I thought maybe to ask you, King Sriman, Shakti, Rebeka. I don't know what inspires, but what makes you more appreciative of God's presence in your life? Yeah, if anyone would like to share.
I'll share.
Yes, please, Masha.
Yeah. Well, something that just came to me is the grace that God's presence provides and facilitates with.
When you experience the grace, then you're fully aware that, oh, this is God. I'm now with Him.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes, Kim, you wanted to?
Oh yeah, I guess I would just say I've noticed ever since I was young just a lot of coincidences that constantly seem to end me up with Krishna. Just running into people in an odd way. I don't know, conversations, even objects, just constantly like he's trying to say, here I am, search me out, So I guess that's what I would say is most noticeable for me. And then, of course, how it makes me feel. The philosophy does make me feel like it's the truth and it's good in every way. So those would be the two things.
Perceiving coincidences. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because one of the first kind of proofs that I had in Krishna consciousness, like philosophical proofs, and this is kind of like all what we need really. Philosophy considered to be the mother of all science, I think, or the science of all sciences. And I had like that sort of like a revelation too. I think what you were sharing, that when you see something that seemingly happens by coincidence, but I mean, the fact that we perceive that was a coincidence, it's already a proof by itself that someone had to arrange that. You know what I mean? Kind of.
I think so. Yes.
It's like I read it in one of Prabhupada's classes, and it's like a very subtle point, but it's so deep that, let's say we're missing $20 or $100 to pay, I don't know, the bills or the rent or whatever, and then accidentally, so to speak, we find these $100, and the fact that we consider that was accidental or that was a coincidence. So I just needed these $100, and what the chances that I would find them on the street? That's actually the proof that someone had to arrange that, both in our consciousness and both in like the surface level, both in the like physical world, so to speak. And that's like sort of the proof. Prabhupada says that that's like the proof of the super soul, that the super soul is every single living entity up to the atom and subatomic particles and everything, and it arranges the whole material world that that something will make sense here. Yeah, that's kind of what I remembered that. Okay, Sirman Shakti said she loved that. No coincidence. Yeah. If it was a simply plain coincidence, you would not perceive that as a coincidence. You just pick up these $100 and continue with the day. But the fact that we do have that perception, it proves that there's something beyond that arranges. That kind of what comes to me when I heard you sharing that, like spontaneously.
Yeah, at times they're quite precise. The coincidence is quite precisely connected. Like you said, you need $100 and you find $100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the word coincidence, it's like coincidence, like together this instance has been created.
Wow.
That reminds me about like, yeah, and here and out there.
Wow, that's really a revelation, and an extension of the revelation for me now. Thank you, Shakti.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you hear that, Rebeka? Okay.
I guess mine would be, I'm not a very grateful person. I kind of feel angry even talking about it, but
You're not very grateful?
grateful.
Grateful.
Grateful
Okay.
or grateful. But yes, earlier on, I was feeling, my mind, I was thinking about some situation that happened a long time ago. And then I was feeling a little angry. And then came out and started chanting and came up with this nice, very beautiful melody that I can almost never remember to bring up on my own, but it just every once in a while pops in my head. And yeah, I really love that melody. And yeah, so I just appreciate the process, the chanting and the melodies, and so, and the arrangements that are here from Prabhupada and Krishna. So
that makes you more connected to this gratitude spirit to God.
I don't like to admit it, but yeah.
We're tapping into that in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just because there's also many coincidences that come up that end up being sources of frustration. So those are mostly the ones that I've been connecting with for the last years. So that's why I'm having, trouble even really wanting to become more grateful. But I'm grateful for the nice kirtan, and then the one that you did too. That was felt like we were both kind of like
the jam and the
tapped
Madhava?
in. Yeah,
Okay.
both of them, mine and yours. It felt like we were both kind of tapped in there.
Sync with Krishna.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, too. I felt very connected. Yeah, interesting. Like from what I understand, what you shared, that you tend to see more. You see coincidences. It's not that you don't. Like you see the kind of the plan of God or whatever, some force in how you perceive the world and what happens to you, but the coincidence, you don't perceive them like in a very positive way. It's not like, oh, I found $100 on the street, I need it. It's like, I lost $100 and I needed that to pay my rent, kind of, maybe, no?
Yeah, mostly it ends up being like some source of
Anxiety,
disappointment or something like that. Yeah. But, yeah.
Oh,
So
the other side of the spectrum.
yeah.
In the material world, Lord Chaitanya says, good and bad. It's simply it's a mental state. Something for someone is good, for someone is bad, and vice versa. But yeah, I still sense that you are connecting to this actually. That God, He is arranging something for. Like I just take it. It's for my purification, whatever. Something good, something bad. I think Atmananda, one of the sessions from New Zealand, he shared that even harder than tolerating something bad is tolerating something good that happens to us, because then we're like attached. Oh, wow, it's so nice, Krishna, you're so nice, send me more.
Yeah.
So some would say you're more fortunate than others.
Oh yeah.
But you don't feel like that. Okay.
Working on it.
Who would like to? Would you like to continue reading? I think you had that open already.
Yeah. Okay.
Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons.
Yeah. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way.
Could you repeat that sentence?
When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way.
It kind of sounds like the Bible in a sense. In the beginning there was the word, the sound, the hearing, then everything was manifested. So the proper two is like tapping into this, the hearing, the word is the essence of everything we do.
Yeah. Yeah, from a bona fide teachers. There are different transcendental activities of the Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In the Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord begin from his dealings with the Pandavas. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealings with the Asuras and others. And the 10th canto, in the 10th canto, the sublime dealings with his conjugal associates, the gopis, as well as with his married wives in Dwarka, are mentioned. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference.
Oh, Dwarka. I remember you were asking last time about this, where Krishna's queens are, Dwarka or Mathura.
Yeah.
So I think it's Dwarka.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Married wives in Dwarka. Yeah. Since Lord is absolute, there is no difference in the transcendental nature of each and every dealing of the Lord. But sometimes people in Athara's hearing processes take more interest in hearing about his dealings with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer. So a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulges in such hearings. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures, and that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. Okay, that's more or less done. One should not therefore consider that his dealings with the Pandavas are less important than his dealings with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to all mundane attachment. In all the above mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances, and hearing about him or about his devotees or combatants is conducive to spiritual life. It is said that the Vedas and Puranas, etc., are all made to revive our lost relation with him. Hearing of all these scriptures is essential.
Sure. Yeah, what kind of like I like about the verse is this, like in the Sanskrit, in the translation, when Kunti, she says that she takes more pleasure in others, or not more, but or take pleasure in others doing so, in others chanting, in others hearing, in others reading. I can kind of connect to that. That's why I kind of sometimes push everyone to read something. It's so interesting. I'm like trying to tap really into that and understand what is like pleasurable, but like sometimes like it's like I have like this experience that when someone reads, like, and he really like puts his heart into that, and it's like I get like these little like tiny like goosebumps or something like that. It's so nice, and I think especially it happens to me personally when I know that the person he would not be exposed otherwise to this opportunity to read and chant. Like if some of you, I don't know, seen the work that I do on the channel, I have this channel for Living Monk, and many times I just approach people on the street and I give them one of these books and I ask them to read and reflect on that, or just say something about their spiritual journey, spiritual experience. And yeah, it's many times it's much more cultivating the spiritual pleasure than me sitting on my own and just chanting for hours and hours, which is still nice, it's absolute, but It's a different flavor, I would say, for me. How about you? You have any I don't know, experience or something to share like this about talking with like people about spirituality and sharing with them where you are at in your spiritual journey, hearing from them what it makes you like feel when you do that.
Yeah, I'll share. For me, when I have the opportunity to like share with someone, hear about their spiritual journey, it's empowering. It gives me the sense of community, like even no matter where they are on their journey or if it's totally different than mine, there's a sense of almost renewal. Like we both get new information from each other and get to share our experiences with each other and bring something that, like you said, maybe otherwise wouldn't be transmitted. So yeah.
You feel some bliss finding common ground, common spiritual ground.
Yeah.
Common spiritual ground.
Yeah, I like. Oh, sorry. I like it in the sense too that you get to hear other people's realizations, and I find I get benefit from that. You know, it's like something can click, and it is enlivening, exciting hearing people speak like that. And also I like to listen to people where they're at and where I feel like they're a little bit unclear in their understanding or something. I like to use the reflective listening to try to reflect it back in a way that they'll be more clear over it. You know, try to reflect it back in a sentence that they can grasp better. You know, like you can tell when somebody's trying to explain something that's just kind of like a little unclear, and they basically have it. They have, you know, but they just can't find really the exact right words to say, you know. And I like to try to help reflect back and help them connect those dots and stuff like that, you know. Yeah, so that's satisfying.
You sort of join them on the journey with this nice tool, the reflective, how do you call it?
Reflective listening. Yeah, or empathic reflections. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting because like I feel like the ultimate dharma of our souls, our spirit soul, is to like realize God within and talk about God and serve. And so talking about it with just everyone around, mundane conversations, it really brings like a sense of enlivenment like to both of us, because it's like what the soul inside wants to be doing. Yeah.
Like I think sometimes they say, like people say, like heart to heart connection, so it's like a soul to soul connection.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
People. I highlighted a sentence here, which is, it's not exactly relative to what we spoke about before now, but it's something important that Prabhupada mentions, and I thought to highlight it and share. Sometimes people in an unauthorized hearing process take more interest in hearing about the dealings with the gopis. Such inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer. So a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulges in such hearing. So what kind of comes up for me when I hear that is like, there's nothing wrong about hearing about Krishna's loving affairs, about the gopis. I mean, we have a picture of Krishna with the gopi here, Srimati Radharani. But on the other hand, I see for myself how it's important to consider where I'm at, and if I'm overly stressing a particular episode of Krishna's pastimes, because Krishna has so many pastimes, so many wonderful varieties of interactions with the devotees, and they're all infused with bliss, they're all infused with pleasure. So there's no really need to stress on one more than the other, and especially like Prabhupada highlights the pastimes of the gopis, because sex life is something that, in a material sense, it binds us here. It's considered to be like the golden bars of material life, and there are groups of spiritualists that they show more interest. Sometimes, like I heard too, that they would even like put down like the pastimes that Krishna would have, like in the Bhagavad Gita, like Krishna is fighting and he's kind of more formal. So they would sort of scoff on that, and they would say, well, this is very like it's like a very neophyte hearing process. We should hear about something more high and elevated and spontaneous. But actually, if someone is really on the platform of relishing the spontaneous bliss from something so intricate, like the seemingly lusty pastimes of Krishna and his gopis, he would not really discriminate between hearing from the Bhagavad Gita, from the issue of Upanishad, like Keith Prabhu, I see that he reads Shri Upanishad here in Thira Govinda Ashram. And he would see really the essence in each and one of them, not less than Krishna's passion with the gopis or whatever. There was a really very instructive pastimes of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada's spiritual master. Here he's there on this corner. I think the light doesn't. Oh, Hare Krishna Daro. I didn't notice that you're here. I'm just gonna put you on mute. So, or if you wanted to say something.
No, thanks.
Hare Krishna. Yes. So, there was a very instructive passage of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur when he went to Radhakund, the place where Krishna and Radharani meet and bathe, and it's a it's the most sacred place in the whole universe, and many people go there to specifically worship Krishna in this intimate mood of Krishna with the gopis and the conjugal love and all these different things. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he came and he gave lectures there on Ishopanishad, Upanishads. Upanishads are considered to be Gyan. It's considered to be like the knowledge aspect of the Vedic literatures, and very, seemingly like very like kind of like a study group of the philosophical part of the Vedas, and Bhaktisiddhanta would give the lectures, and many of the local what is called Babajis. Babaji is someone who just sits in a holy place and he just reads and chants like that. Many of them, they actually scoffed over on Bhaktisiddhanta. They were saying, "Oh, you are a logician," because the Upanishads they're dealing a lot with logic and philosophy. But still, there is no difference. There's no difference when the philosophy, the logic that Krishna imparts in the Bhagavad Gita, or books like Ishopanishad or Srimad Bhagavatam, or all these different narrations, and the highest conclusion, the highest relationships with Krishna as the parent, as the son, as the lover, as the servant, all these different things. And they put Bhaktisiddhanta like that down, and Bhaktisiddhanta, he made the remark that these people actually, they're not living in a holy place, they're living in hell. Why he made such a remark? Because if we misunderstand the pastimes, especially these very, very intimate pastimes, to be material, then it's even worse than hell in a sense, because which will take us 10, 100 million times longer to rectify this mentality. What makes them material is thinking that these pastimes are for my enjoyment, or for my indulgence. Prabhupada uses the word indulgence. So yeah, that's kind of what stood up for me, how how Krishna is absolute in all his aspects that he gives us. Either it's a simple philosophy, we're not the body, or the most complicated treatise of, Krishna is dancing with someone else's wife, things like that. And if we pay attention too much more than to the other, it shows some like a severe shortcoming. Like I think it's better to overly indulge in something simple like we're not the body, because this is the basics, than to indulge in something so complicated as Krishna's loving affairs. So he's here in all circumstances, Prabhupada says here. But Hare Krishna. Can read another one and see what comes up. Api adyanastvam savakratya prabhu jihasasi sweet sarado nijivana jesamna yachayat bhavata padma bhujat prayanam rajasoyo jita mahasam. King, would you like to read text 37?
Yeah, sure. I'm unfortunately I walked away from the scripture. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second. I don't know. It's going to take me more than a second. I locked myself out of the house. Hold on. Okay, I'm almost there. We're on 37 now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on you and your mercy, and have no one else to protect us. Now when all kings are at enmity with us. Remember I told you the verse is so small.
I remember. Yeah. You prefer maybe someone else to read? Hmm?
No, let me try this. I just tried putting on 2 glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one on top of each other. Okay. The Pandavas are most fortunate because with all good luck, they were entirely dependent on mercy of the Lord. In the material world, to be dependent on mercy of someone else is the utmost sign of misfortune. But in the case of our transcendental relationship with the Lord, it is the most fortunate case when we can live completely dependent on Him. The material disease is due to thinking of becoming independent of everything. But the cruel material nature does not allow us to become independent. The false attempt to become independent of the stringent laws of nature is known as material advancement of experimental knowledge. The whole material world is moving on the false attempt to become independent of the laws of nature. Beginning from Ravana, who wanted to prepare a direct staircase to the planets of heaven, down to the present age, they are trying to overcome the law of nature. They are trying now to approach distant planetary systems by electronic mechanical power. But the highest goal of human civilization is to work hard under the guidance of the Lord and become completely dependent on Him. The highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. The Pandavas were the ideal executors of this standard of civilization. Undoubtedly, they were completely dependent on the goodwill of Lord Sri Krishna, but they were not idle parasites of the Lord. They were all highly qualified, both of personal character and by physical activities. Still, they always looked for the mercy of the Lord because they knew that every living being is dependent by constitutional position. The perfection of life is therefore to become dependent on the will of the Lord, instead of becoming falsely independent in the material world. Those who try to become falsely independent of the Lord are called anatta, or without any guardian, whereas those who are completely dependent on the will of the Lord are called sanatta, or those having someone to protect them. Therefore, we must try to be sanatta, so that we can always be protected from the unfavorable condition of material existence. By the deluding power of the external material nature, we forget that the material condition of life is the most undesirable perplexity. The Bhagavad Gita therefore directs us, 7:19, that after many, many births, one fortunate person becomes aware of the fact that Vasudeva is all in all, and that the best way of leading one's life is to surrender unto him completely. That is the sign of a Mahatma. All the members of the Pandava family were Mahatmas in household life. Maharaj Yudhisthira was the head of these Mahatmas, and Queen Kunti Devi was the mother. The lessons of the Bhagavad Gita and all the Puranas, specifically the Bhagavat Puranas, are therefore inevitably connected with the history of the Pandava Mahatmas. For then, separation from the Lord was just like the separation of a fish from water. Srimati Kunti Devi therefore felt such separation like a thunderbolt, and the whole prayer of the queen is to try to persuade the Lord to stay with them. After the battle of Kurukshetra, although the what's that word? I don't know that word. Kings were killed. Their sons and grandsons were still there to deal with the Pandavas. It is not only the Pandavas who are put into the condition of enmity, but all of us are always in such a condition. And the best way of living is to become completely dependent on the will of the Lord, and thereby overcome all difficulties of material existence. Can I read the verse again? I had such a hard time reading it. It was so choppy. Oh my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? Through we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us. Now when all kings are at enmity with us.
It kind of reminds me of this verse, Queen Kunti prays for trouble, for difficulties. But the result, there are no difficulties, and she's worried that he's going to leave us. I know it's the opposite, sorry. Now when all the kings are at enmity, but where they're not. she now experiences then. I like this line. The highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. Work like everything depends on God. No. Yeah, like everything depends on you, and pray like everything depends on God. Yeah, we're trying to be so independent in like our modern, like the more modern we become, we try to be like the aspiration, from my understanding, is modernization means that we become more and more independent. But we actually are dependent more and more on something less perfect, less and less perfect.
the thought that the verse made me think about was a lot of times I feel like I'll talk to people and they think that, you know, God is punishing them for this or punishing them for that. And whereas I often don't think that at all. In fact, I probably don't ever think that. But I think he built in what people perceive as punishments into the material nature. And they just, you know, they're part of the law of material nature, which has a constant array of, you know, cause and effect, which often feel like punishments, although they're really just lessons. I see them as. But anyway, just to take it away from, I don't ever really see it as God punishing as much as it's just he built it into material nature, and they do appear like punishments, but they're really just lessons. I don't know. That's what the verse brought up for me.
Hmm. Yeah, there's no punishment. It's the laws of nature. Like if we get angry on the judge because he just does his duty, acting as a representative of the system, we don't get anything from that except our own resentfulness towards our experience here. Really, because that's our experience, right?
Yeah.
We experience trouble, we
Yes.
experience difficulties, we experience hardship, unfairness, and not like partiality from either God or like our parents, or like anything that tends to be like superior, I would say. I don't know, or even not superior, but anything we give our uh, our responsibility to our own, or I would say I that happens to me a lot. Like I give my responsibility of feeling complete and responsible of my emotions and then my experience becomes perverted. Like I let others to decide what is my experience, and then I think from that for me would come the self-victimization and torturing myself as the victim of this world, and this world is unfair, and I lost all my money in the stock market, and it's so bad. Instead of taking responsibility and being present with the pain and experiencing the experience in a way which is constructive. I think that would be like the difference for me, like, because I mean, yeah, we cannot deny there are bad things that are going to happen to me, to us, but there's still a way to grow from that, from everything that we experience, just like there is a way to degrade from anything good, right? I read about this guy who won like 2 billion pounds, British pounds in England, and it's like tons of money. It's like, I don't know, like $5, $6, $7 million, and he ended up working in the same lottery booth that he once won the ticket after he spent all the money on drugs and sex and and he looked happy, right? So he's in charge of his experience and he's happy. Like I'll feel such a victim. Like, oh my God, I'm a victim of my material desires, and I didn't utilize the money properly. I ended up working in the same lottery booth. So he is an ace. Did we finish the verse? I think, yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. You have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? You have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today, though we are completely dependent on you, on your mercy, and have no one else to protect us? Wow, she is like scared that Krishna is gonna leave them. This thought bewilders me. How a pure devotee that sees, like the previous verse, I think we touched that Krishna is everywhere. He is in his pastimes and he is chanting in the service. And now Queen Kunti, she like, as if she is taking it back, like, oh my God, Krishna, but you're gone, you're going away. It's bewildering. Yeah, love and separation. I have really little realization about that. So I guess we can, unless someone wants to reflect more on the verse, I feel complete about my sharing on this verse here. You can read another one. The text 38. Kevayam namarupa bhayam yadubhi sahapandavaha bhavato darshanam yadi rishikeshanam ivishtahu. Would anyone else like to read? I don't know if you have a copy of the book, Sriman Shakti. If not,
I don't.
yeah, it's okay. Daru, would you like to read? Is it Daru? I'm not sure if I pronounce the name. No, it's okay.
I don't have a book or anything. I don't have a book.
You don't have. Okay, that's fine. I'll read. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you don't look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Kunti is quite aware that the existence of the Pandavas is due to Shri Krishna only. The Pandavas are undoubtedly very established in name and fame and are guided by the great king Yudhishthira, who is morality personified. And the Yadus are undoubtedly great allies. But without the guidance of Lord Krishna, all of them are non-essential, non-entities. As much as the senses of the body are useless without the guidance of consciousness. No one should be proud of his prestige, power, fame, without being guided by the favor of the Supreme Lord. The living beings are always dependent, and the ultimate dependable object is the Lord Himself. We may therefore invent by our advancement of material knowledge all sorts of counteracting material resources, but without being guided by the Lord, all such inventions end in fiasco. Fiasco, that's how you pronounce it? Fiasco.
Yeah.
However strong and stout the reactionary elements may be. I sort of remember, when I read this, I remember this talk I had with my uncle from Brooklyn. He works at the World Trade Center as like an advisor or something like that, and he earns quite a lot, but he works quite a lot too, and he works from like 7 in the morning or even earlier to like 11, 10 midnight sometimes, and he has a daughter with his wife. And when I visit him, I always like wonder how like wouldn't he like to spend more time with his daughter? And I would ask him, why do you work so much? Like you don't want to like pick your daughter from like school and like spend the afternoon with her sometimes or whatever. And of course he wants, but his philosophy is that I'm gonna make this big empire for my family and leave it for them, so they don't have to work as hard as I have to work. And why did I recall it here from reading this verse? Because Prabhupada speaks here how without God in the center, without God as a purpose, without God actually as being the beginning, the middle, and the end, is like our life turns against us in a sense. And I was thinking about it, like, let's say if I become like a millionaire or a billionaire and I leave it to my children without any proper guidance of how to utilize that commodity, like it's really going to go against them. I think Prabhu, he mentioned over Prasadam a few days ago that if you want to destroy someone, you give him
Pain to do nothing.
pain to do nothing. Yeah. So it's like, what is really doing if we don't have God in the center of our activities? It's like, it's nothing. Because at the end, it's all useless labor. Yeah. So it's kind of what comes to me. So much as the senses of the body are useless without the guidance of the consciousness. So like this without the supreme consciousness, our consciousness too, it's like, it's not useless, but in the sense that it's gonna get into trouble. I'm thinking a question because I sense that there's some how do you call it, reluctance to share maybe. I don't know, maybe it's a different...
I'll share.
Okay.
So what this inspired in my thoughts is reflection on like the general society that we live in America, and how there's so much of everything except God consciousness, and how reflectively there's so much suffering as far as mental states and health and lack of joy.
Yeah, because Krishna is missing there. So yeah, even if there is some joy, like it's gonna end very quickly.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like what makes me appreciative of Krishna, of God during this time, is really how he allows us to reconnect to this essence of joy, essence of what makes us happy, because we're really bereft of like all the things that at least myself, like of like traveling, for example, that makes me happy, and I cannot travel now. Like I'm like stuck here. I don't really feel stuck, but I do. I want to go to LA. I want to go to New York, and okay, I'm here. So, but I don't want to be I don't want my happiness to depend on something like that, because we never know what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's where we're living, like now the paradigm where we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So that makes me very grateful, like what you shared about what really the things that makes us happy, and we have time to reconnect to that. That's kind of what I get from
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, I'm just thinking about the ease, like the grace that God allows. Like, we can go so far away, and then God is always right there. And as soon as we turn toward that, it's there, and it's just growing as we look at it. I feel, as I look at it, be with it.
If you stick to God, you feel that it naturally grows, his affection, or maybe how you perceive his affection.
Mm-hmm. No matter how far away from him I go.
Yeah, he's very eager, more than us. Like in the beginning of this book, Prabhupada, he mentions that Krishna, he wants us back so much and he's ready to take us. But we very persistently, we finding loopholes and staying here. Something like that, he said. So yeah, Krishna is like, come on. When are you coming? I'm ready. Like I made the feast, all the friends are waiting for you. It's actually very interesting because there's somewhere in the books too, Prabhupada states that when we go back home, back to Godhead, the time that we spent here is perceived like few, like fractions of the second. Like no one actually notices except Krishna that we somewhere else, when we went to somewhere else for at that time it would feel like eternity, like Prabhupada calls it, from time immemorial, like almost eternally we here, not forever. We've been with Krishna in the past, but the time, our experience here feels to us like forever, like we don't remember even being with Krishna so much. But when we go back, the time we spent without Krishna and without our satsang, without our spiritual friends, it's like a quarter, nothing of a second, pretty much. It's a fraction of time, and no one even notices that except Krishna.
Wow.
We're just like in the spiritual world, spacing out for a second here.
Yeah.
Gonna come out of it anytime.
I think some devotee, I heard him saying, it's like, you go to pick up, like to wash your face in the water or something, and then on the way you get into Maya. And then when you come back, the devotees, they're like, where have you been? Why it took you so long to bring the water or something like that, or something. It's like we were just like on in between something, and we snapped. How you said space out? We spaced out.
Yeah, well, I picture it. You're kind of like, just like come back into it. Yeah.
Like I experience how Krishna is merciful, graceful in a sense of not letting us miss any fun in the spiritual world, and both in the material world. Because even he comes here, right, to have fun ultimately. So it can be fun too, right? Before we go back home, back to Godhead, actually, we take birth in the Boma Lila, like these pastimes that we read now, like when Kunti, she's not like a living entity like us exactly. They're different different types of living entities. Like she would be someone that would actually come fully Krishna conscious from the spiritual world to interact with Krishna, like in the theatric play. Like the difference between, let's say, someone like me, that I just fell down and I forgot about Krishna, and maybe sometime in the future I'll to reenact these pastimes from a more conscious platform. But devotees like Queen Kunti or Srila Prabhupada, or all these spiritual masters, why we put them on the altar, because they're not like they don't have any differentiation between their appearance actually here and in the spiritual world, and their presence is fully potent, fully spiritual, and fully connected to Krishna. And I spaced out. I forgot what I was talking about. Why I was mentioning all of that now. Don't remember. But the mercy that Krishna is not letting us to miss out anything, and he comes with this. Before we go back home back to God, we take part in these pastimes. Like maybe we like one of the warriors on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, or maybe we one of the associates of Krishna in Vrindavan, or maybe one of the cows, maybe even a blade of grass or a peacock. So before we actually enact, like go back to God, we do like an apprentice. I think Prabhupada calls it apprenticeship. Apprenticeship in the Boma Lila, which is Krishna's spiritual pastimes on the earthly plan in one of the universes, and in some time, and he appears like that. He reenacts these pastimes every day of Brahma, once in a day. So in a sense too, we're very fortunate of not missing out on that, because yeah, we could have been somewhere else, but now we took birth in after Krishna already did that, and Lord Chaitanya did that, which is even more rare. And yeah, maybe we can either stay here till Krishna comes again, or I wonder how that happens, but like how we actually appear in Krishna's earthly pastimes for this.
You can go to another universe.
Or yeah, or we go to another universe. Yeah, so many universes are there. Hare Krishna.
I'm thinking like what's like what could be, I have a lot of ideas, the purpose of this apprenticeship. Like I think of so many things, like bringing Krishna consciousness into like the crevices of this place where it's forgotten, and expanding our experience or our awareness through these experiences. And I wonder if it's like through at a certain point of the apprenticeship, we remember so much that that's when we go, or just like, yeah, why are we doing this apprenticeship?
Why Krishna takes us through like a training before we go back home to Godhead, ultimately.
Yeah, and when you reflect it like that, then I see like, okay, like a training, like at some point I must have forgotten the glory of being with Godhead, so I need some training.
Yeah, I kind of see that as like I mentioned that because Krishna, I think I made the connection that it's fun. It can be fun here too in the material world if we're with Krishna, and even Krishna, he comes here to have some fun, because there's certain pastimes that Krishna cannot reenact in the spiritual world, like fighting, for example, like fighting with demons. There are no demons in the spiritual world, so in that sense, Krishna sometimes he's bored. So he sort of allows us to take part in that special environment, special satsang, special devotional pastimes. Like in the spiritual world, 90% or even 95 or 99.9% of the souls, they never come here, they never make it to the material world. So I feel sometimes a bit kind of like proud that I fell down to to stay here and witness Krishna, even hear about Krishna, like fighting with the demons. Like next on the 6th of May, we're going to celebrate Narasimha Dev, the appearance of Krishna as lion. Right there on top, somewhere there. And that's too, like Krishna is not, Narasimha Dev, he is there in the spiritual world too, but he's not like killing the demons and things like that. So that's something very special that we can witness and experience together with Krishna, even from like a conditional perspective. It's like something we can feel spiritually proud about, that I heard about Krishna doing this and that. Like you don't hear that if you stay in the spiritual world the whole time, but I don't know how much that conclusion is approved by the acharyas. So take it with a pinch of salt.
Do you know what the word acharya means, Sirman Shakti?
Acharya?
Yeah.
Is it like a pure devotee?
Yeah, they teach through example, and then we have certain people in the lines that are
spiritual masters. Yeah, good word. Spiritual masters. Yeah. Yeah, it's always like safe to just repeat what they say. But if someone has some realization or someone is tapping into, we don't want to surpass it too, and we want to have like a safe space when we can all like really examine and sort of perceive our own experience and see how much it serves us in our spiritual journey. And this is really like why I like these morning sessions, that we can really take advantage in the spiritual way of each other by this association of reflecting and hearing and sharing and perceiving really like, okay, I have this realization, but does it really make sense, or I'm just like drifting somewhere else where it's not really serving me? You know what I mean? Yeah, connecting to that. Yeah, that's why I appreciate like this aspect of community a lot, because it's based around this principle that we have a unique gift of like these gold diamond realization that we want to share, and sometimes we just like we don't know how to do it, or we ended up like blocking them. You know,
That's why I was asking if Sirman Shakti knew what a acharya meant, because I'm not sure. I was just wondering how much contact she has with the philosophy, right? To know, I don't know. I was just wanting to, I don't know, raise awareness around it, or if you can just be considerate of it, because it just came to my mind, because it depends on somebody's amount of experience with the philosophy, then you can speak in a way that's you speak differently, right? Somebody that's new, somebody who's been around. So that's
like the Sanskrit terminology, it's something.
Yeah. And I think this kind of relates to what you're talking about, right?
I think so, yeah, because it can create some blocks in people's sharing, people's understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. How much obviously your name is Sirman Shakti. You've come in contact with Vedic things to an extent. Like what amount? I mean, I feel like you could maybe get that name if you were associating with a yoga community also, right? Not necessarily with the devotees. So I'm just wondering how much.
Yeah. So like, I love this. Like you guys are sharing. It's a chance. It could be blockages depending on the language, but then it's also a chance for expanded awareness through the association, because then you ask, oh, do you know what acharya means? And then I get to get more clear on that. And so, yeah, I have this name from living in a Sikh ashram, and a lot of my Vedic knowledge and wisdom comes from the practice of yoga, hatha yoga and meditation, and kundalini yoga. And so after 9 years of practicing, the devotional aspect started to kick in, and which has led me to bhakti yoga and reading the Bhagavad Gita, and being in association with you guys and Savatov and David and Marie. Just every time I get to connect with you guys, the knowledge deepens and expands, and I learn more, and I'm really eager to learn and to be in bhakti yoga, so it sticks. Yeah.
So you got quite a bit of experience with the Sikh tradition, and then with the Kundalini yoga, you could obviously come in contact with some of the terms and some of the teachings and stuff, and then more recently come in contact with the Savatov and David and the more direct teachings.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the impression that Kim has more. She was reading, right? So I was assuming that she was more connected with the teachings.
Yeah, the next celebration actually is connected to the Sikh tradition, because it's Nara Singha, and Singh. I don't know if you know Sriman Shakti. Singh means lion, right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So it's half man, half lion. Nara means human, and Singha. And in Hebrew, actually, Simcha, like it's kind of similar. Simcha means happiness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Narasingha, may he bring a lot of spiritual happiness into our life next. I think it's next week. I'm not sure which day. I'm gonna check. We're gonna make an event, and there's gonna be a morning session and an evening session, and kind of like we did on Lord Ramachandra's appearance day in the beginning of the month. It's gonna be similar. Where's my calendar? Calendar. Not here. So that's Wednesday. It's going to be Wednesday, 6th of May. Wednesday. I'm going to make an announcement and everything. So. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Here, I have a picture of Narasimha here.
Well,
His head.
I thought it was like, I kept on thinking that the lion human was Kesava.
They?
Kesava? Who is Kesava?
Keshava. Keshava is the one with the fine hair. Keshava. It's Krishna. It's like, I think more precisely, it's Krishna on the Ishopanishad book. There is a specific, every Vishnu deity, it's Keshava is a form of Vishnu or Narayan. So every incarnation of or expansion of Narayan, they have a particular name depending on the placement of the objects on their hands, like the club, the conch shell, the lotus, and the mace. It's called, yeah. And this particular arrangement is Keshava. And the translation of the name Keshava is the one with a beautiful curly hair. Hare Krishna. Okay, I feel pretty complete. And next time we're going to read verse number, 40? Or 39? I'm not sure. I know, 38. Next one. We're going to read, I think tomorrow there's a session with Malini. I'm not sure. Let me check. I'm going to let you know. I'm just going to stop the recording in the meantime.